All right, welcome back to Geek Corner, part of the Coach Steve Show podcast, where we break down movies, TV shows, mainly Marvel, but we're going to dip our toes into the DC world today. Logan's back. Logan, how you doing? What's up?
What's up, Steve? How are you, man?
I'm fantastic.
Long time no see. You've been a little busy, I think. It's your season, isn't it?
It's my season. I don't get home till like 7 or so at night, and then I fall asleep on the chair and then get up and do all over again.
I'm glad we've found the time to carve out some time to do this then, because there's plenty of stuff to talk about that we haven't had a chance to.
Yeah, plenty of stuff to talk about. But Logan's podcast, No One Else's podcast, is just taken off. It's to the moon. So everybody check that out.
I wouldn't say that. I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. Check it out. Our show tends to do well when Illinois is doing well. Let's just be honest. Basketball was kind of our driving force for a while, and then the past few weeks, football has kind of driven the conversation, and it's definitely helped on the views. So, yeah, I've been talking a lot of Illinois football and getting set for Illinois basketball. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And I know I've said this before, but I credit you for really kind of getting me started on this whole thing again. So much appreciation to you, my friend, for kind of convincing me to get a microphone and start talking.
You're quite welcome. I try to keep up with Illinois too. That's the only time I can find is talking Illinois. And you're right. It helps when they're good.
Illinois fans are very dedicated.
They are.
It's a very love them or hate them, for better or for worse. They are a very dedicated and opinionated fan base, which a lot of fan bases are. I'm not going to try to say that Illinois is any better or any worse than anybody else, but I would venture to guess that there are numbers out there that indicate that Illinois fans maybe are more online. Maybe that's a good way to put it. And I think that has certainly helped Craig and I's show. I don't know. I can't speak for your show if you've seen those same type of numbers, but yeah, Illinois fans are very online, and that's definitely helped our show. And I'm assuming we'll continue that through basketball season too.
The last thing about that, I am 3-0 now with Illinois. With my episodes, I said they would beat Wisconsin. I said they would beat Iowa, and they would beat Minnesota. So
wow!
Now,
all right.
When I title those episodes that, they are 3-0. So I'm not saying Coach Bielema needs me, but I think I have to continue that trend.
I think so. Well, good news for both of us is that there's no game this weekend, so we don't have to worry about it.
Nope.
But yeah, that's great though. You're 3-0. That's awesome. I have not done very well on my picks, so.
Outside of that, no, I haven't. The rest of the picks have not gone too well. The Illinois one, yes. The rest of them, no. I think I'm like 16 and 18.
Before we get too far, I don't know if we've talked about it on your show. I brought it up on my show, but I do want to bring up the little gift that I got from you.
There it is. It is.
As a ask to be in your wedding party, which obviously I'm flattered, and yes, of course.
Logan told me to F off. Logan told me to F off when he got it.
No, this is really cool because Scarlet Witch was the best part of Multiverse of Madness, so. I've added that to my Funko Pop collection. So, but yeah, we haven't really had a chance to talk much since then. So,
no. You've been busy because brother being a head coach, doing your own thing, doing all that, and me doing my thing, and it's been busy. Been busy.
Little bit. Well, I'm excited to talk about Black Adam and some Marvel stuff. We haven't had a chance to. We haven't talked about any of the Marvel stuff after. We probably talked after Thor, I would guess, and then we probably haven't had a show since then. So all the D23 stuff that came out that came and went without much fanfare. So a lot to talk about.
Yeah, that thing was disappointing because I think we talked about their first initial thing they did. What was it, in July or August? I don't remember. And then that D23 coming out in September, we were waiting. You even texted me like this was pointless because they just kind of reiterated what was already happening.
Right.
So there hasn't been too much besides that. We'll get to the Marvel stuff and our thoughts and opinions, but Black Adam was released on Thursday. You got to see it opening night. I had to wait till the next day to see it. What was your overall before we dive in? I mean, spoilers, I guess, because people.
We're obviously going to spoil this movie. Uh, I thought it was fine. I go into most DC properties at this point. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've been going into a lot of properties with lower expectations anymore, I think, especially DC movies. Um, I enjoy The Rock. I think The Rock is very charismatic, and I think he's obviously a movie star. He's probably the biggest movie star we have right now, other than maybe Tom Cruise. Um,
Mhm.
but overall, it was enjoyable. I had a good time with it. It didn't blow me away. It didn't reinvent the. It wasn't going to reinvent the wheel, and it didn't try to. Um, it wasn't a great movie, but it wasn't a bad movie. It was just a. It was a. It was a DC movie starring Dwayne Johnson. That is what
Yep.
it is. That's absolutely what it is, and that's what it was trying to be. That's what it was going to be. And for the most part, I had a fun time with it.
Yeah, to me, before I'm not going to. I'll get to the end later. I went into it not knowing anything. I went into it like this is a Dwayne Johnson movie where he's finally in the superhero world, which everybody's been clamoring for. You know, he's met with Marvel a couple times. This has just kind of been in the works. He's claimed this has been 15 years in the making of being Black Adam. I
I think they started this process in like 2007.
yeah,
That's what I
he
had
put
heard.
he put a picture up of him meeting with somebody a long time ago, and this is when he had hair, so you know it was a long
Yeah.
time ago. And it's been a long thing in the making. But he's met with Marvel. There was talks he was going to go Marvel, but he has to have his $7 production a part of it, and we all know Kevin Feige's not about that life, but the DC world is. Um, I was a little worried going in. The only part I was worried about was I hope there's not these big, huge connections to other things that I don't know because I'm not as versed in the DC world as I need to be. And there wasn't. The things they brought up, I already kind of knew,
Yeah.
a little bit. That post credit scene, obviously, I knew already. He had already hinted at that what happened there. But yeah, it wasn't this. I knew going into it, this was not going to blow out Marvel. He said it. Everybody
No.
said this is. He said this is like their phase one. This is like reinventing the DC world. But it was a good movie. I think if you're looking for an action packed like superhero type movie, it's gonna get it. It does its job. It's not going to blow any records by any stretch. Um, it reminded me of the Doctor Strange where it was just straight go go go, which kind of shocked me. It was like immediate. They
Yeah.
dove right into that, and I enjoyed it. There was nothing really. There was a couple of things, but yeah, for his first DC role, it was fine. It was a good movie. Don't have any real complaints.
No, I'm with you. You brought up the whole how quick paced it was and how quickly it started, and I don't really think this was ever going to be a movie that was going to have a lot of story to it. He's not. I enjoy him, and I think he's getting better even as an actor. Um, but I think he's more of a performer than he is an actor. And so like to expect there to be, some big dramatic, you know, performance from him or dramatic, you know, side to the story or dramatic arc to the story, that's probably unrealistic. So yeah, I mean, it was going to be action packed, and as you said, it's going to be go 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 from the onset, and that's what we got. I mean, you're going to go to this movie and you're going to be entertained for whatever it was, 2 hours. Um, and I think that's what we got. I mean, everybody's going to be critical about it, and rightfully so. I mean, it's not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it's enjoyable. It's going to entertain you, and that's what it's supposed to do.
Yes, I thought Pierce Bronson's role was great. Like his acting, and it was good to bring him in.
Yep,
Um,
I thought he was great. I thought performance wise, I thought everybody was solid. There was a couple exceptions, and we can get into that. But yeah, I thought Pierce was great. I thought all of the justice, whatever they called them, were that group was fine. Um, the whole time I'm sitting here comparing it to these characters in the MCU, but that's the conversation for a different time. Yeah, I thought Pierce was great.
I did the same thing. I was worried. The Justice Society, right? Is that what they call
Justice
themselves?
Society, yeah, yeah.
I was worried that they were connected to another DC movie, but I think this was kind of them
No,
being brought in.
the only real connections this movie had was to Shazam.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, a lot of that same lore was used in this movie. It's a lot of the same, the whole backstory. They kind of come from the same thing, so that was connected. Amanda Waller, who has been
Mhm.
in, a few of the Guardians movies and a few others, maybe. And I believe there was one, and I didn't catch this. I didn't know who she was because I didn't watch um, the Peacemaker show, which I've heard is really good. I just
Mhm.
haven't watched it. But
Yep.
I believe that was a character from that. I think it's Jennifer Holland, who is actually James Gunn's wife, who is when they take his body, when they take him underwater,
Mhm.
and so they can towards the end of the movie or whatever. I think that was her. I think she's in Peacemaker. But other than that, there wasn't a lot until the very end, of course. But there wasn't a lot of connections to other DC things that I think you should have known. None of those other Justice Society characters we've seen before, at least in the movies, obviously that are based on comic book characters. So comic book fans would know them. But in terms of the movies, no, I don't think any of them had shown up before.
Yeah. So we can just dive into the full thing. It was a good movie. I just didn't know who was connected, but yeah, The Rock carried this movie. But everybody he carried the movie obviously because he's the main character. But fast paced it was great. I don't. The only criticism I had was, and it's dumb. It's at the end when they put him underwater, and then I'm like, oh, this is the end of the movie. The whole time I was like, this is the end of the movie.
Yeah.
We're about done. And then how quickly he comes back, and that's just a very small criticism. It doesn't mean much, but it was just kind of like that would have been a perfect ending to me, like to set up something else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't like the pacing of that. That was a weird thing to do.
Right.
Didn't understand that whole pacing part of it. Um, the jokes were okay. I think that some of them were forced, but it is what it is. It's
Right.
Marvel does the same thing. They kind of force these like in the Thor movies. They kind of forced. We talked about Thor: Love and Thunder. I looked it up. We last talked July 26th. It's been that long when we did that.
Yeah, I think we probably planned to do something after D23, and that was just so underwhelming that we just never bothered to do it. And then hasn't been a lot to talk about since then. Yeah, I mean, I think the action in this movie was great. I think for the most part, the performances were strong. I think that um, I I felt a lot of it was telegraphed. Nothing really surprised me or caught me off guard. I didn't really, and anything that happened, twist or whatever, like anything, every part of the story I could kind of see coming, which
Mhm.
can't always confidently say that. I'm usually surprised by something in a movie, and I wasn't really surprised by anything that happened here. Um, I thought the kid was awful. I don't know what was going on there. There was the scene where he goes up towards the end and he gives his speech to the rest of the citizens of the city or the country,
Mhm.
whatever we're in, and he gives this whole speech that's supposed to be like getting them to come out and help fight and defend themselves. And like, I just thought that was awful. Like, the kid did nothing for me. I don't know
No.
who he is. I'm not sure what he's been in and what he will be in the future. I wish him well. I hope he does better things, but he was far and away to me the weakest part of the movie. I know that's a small thing. I know he wasn't supposed to be like the focal point of the movie, but he had a pretty big role, and I didn't think he was very good. Um,
No.
that's kind of my biggest takeaway in terms of that stuff.
The only part that I kind of liked was when he's chasing him down the stairs. Like that part I was fine
Yeah,
with.
that
Like
was fine.
that part, but you're right that like it goes back to like because they talked about how they had to cut things from this movie because it was originally going to be rated R. They had more gruesome things. They had it was supposed to be longer, and then they cut some things. And you're seeing some of these movies starting to do this where they're cutting more out.
Yeah,
And so I don't know that felt forced. That felt like all he did was like, "Hey, we have to rise up and fight." And they're like, "Okay." Like that part, it just that's a little
yeah,
critique of it doesn't make sense. Yeah, I didn't like the kid. He annoyed me every time. Besides that scene, every other time he annoyed me on screen. Um, uh, I didn't. I like. You're right. The more I think about it, because it's still fresh in my mind, there was no twist and turn. Even
No, I
there
mean,
was
what
nothing.
happened with Dr. Fate, like I saw that coming from a mile away. Like I knew that he was predicting the future, whatever. Like that was obviously going to happen. Like I knew that. I mean, you mentioned like you thought that was the end of the movie when they put him underwater, and like the whole time I'm thinking like, okay, he's like this isn't over. Like he's clearly coming back here. Um, yeah, that was just kind of my thing.
Um, I also the only other weird part to me was how when they showed up to find him, they immediately just started fighting him instead of like coming in and saying like who they were, what they were about. It took a whole battle scene for that to happen, and then they stop fighting. Everything is like, and then they fight again. That part to me was weird.
Yeah.
Now the fight scenes were great. Like there's no complaint about the fight scenes, what went on. And you kind of like you said, you saw from a mile away of like they're not going to beat him. It's not going to happen. They're not going to get their way. I just thought it was weird how they were like stopping. Everything's good. Let's talk. Let's discuss what this is, and then let's fight again. And then oh, they're going to take the kid. I didn't see that coming, and that part was weird. It did disrupt the flow, even though it was go. It kind of disrupted the little bit of flow. And oh, let me tell you about what really happened. I did like that little, that part didn't even strike me because you saw at the beginning where the kid find the stone and you see the guy walking. I'm like, well, that's the Rock. They didn't show his face, but yeah, that's him. Like we all know what's happening. I think that'd be the only twist you saw was, oh, the son was really the hero.
Yeah. Okay. I'll say that's the one thing that I guess I don't think maybe I didn't see that coming necessarily. So that probably was the biggest twist that I didn't see.
Right.
So yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, that's my only critique with it. Fight scenes were great. I thought the acting was great. The little flowy parts there were weird. The very end, when they put him underwater, brought him back very quickly. That part I think they could have done without. I get what they were doing, but I thought, okay, that's fine. That to me, that would have been the ending. Like, let's lock you up. We did what we needed to do. We don't need to go through that whole thing. It is disappointing that Dr. Fate is gone because I did enjoy that character. I was kind of hoping he'd stick around, even though I wonder why.
I
wonder why. I like Pierce Bronson though. I thought he just his James Bond days and stuff. I was like, this is a good actor.
I agree.
I do know he resembles a different character in a different universe.
Yes, they're obviously these are comic books, and the comic books always have similar characters. That's just a regular thing about all this stuff. But as I'm watching this movie, I'm just sitting there thinking like, okay, that's DC's version of Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we have DC's version of Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
We have DC's version of Ant-Man. We have. Yes. I didn't really have there wasn't really quite a comparison in terms of film characters yet for the girl, whatever her character's name was. I'm sure there's probably an X-Men character that probably more resembles her that I'm not thinking of. Probably, I guess that probably makes sense. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was thinking about the whole time. Was like that's if I was thinking of it as this was if this was an MCU movie, what would it be like with Doctor Strange, Falcon, Ant-Man, and I guess theoretically Storm. I don't really know who the MCU's Black Adam would be because I was thinking the MCU doesn't really have a Superman either.
No, he'd be like
Tony Stark and Captain America have kind of been the focal points of the MCU, but there's not that they don't have the same skill sets. I mean, Captain Marvel is probably the closest thing we've seen to Superman in the MCU. I don't think that necessarily is an apples to apples comparison, but that's probably the closest we've seen. But in terms of Black Adam, I don't know that. I guess Black Panther is probably the closest, but they don't have still same skill sets at all. So I don't know. It's not like it's supposed to be an apples to apples comparison, but that's what I was thinking about during the movie was if this was an MCU movie, who would be in these roles?
Maybe Thor. Maybe he kind of compares.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the same thing because I did see an article saying like be prepared for these characters to Marvel, and I'm like, okay, and I'm watching, I'm seeing, I'm like, oh, that's Doctor Strange. That's
Yep.
what I thought. I was like, oh, there's Doctor Strange.
Yep.
Oh, he's multiple bodies. Oh, I've seen that versus Thanos.
Uh-huh.
Like that's what I was thinking, and I was like, oh, wait a
Seeing the
minute.
future.
Yeah, I was seeing the future with the time stone. Like I was
He
like, wait a
knows
minute.
how it ends.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I mean, I think Doctor Fate, I believe from what I've read, I think Doctor Fate came before Doctor Strange in the comics. So, but we've
yeah.
seen Doctor Strange in the movies now for a decade, and this is the first time we're seeing Doctor Fate. So obviously, you're going to compare them.
Right. Well, I think he was written, and I saw it today after the movie. I went and actually looked at the spoilers. I guess I think he was written in 1940, and then Doctor Strange was written in like 1960 something. But
Yeah.
we are all okay to say he came first because we, like you said, we've seen Doctor Strange since 2016 when
Yeah.
his solo movie came out. We've been seeing him this whole
As far as the movies go,
right,
yes.
right. Um, but yeah, I did the same thing. I was comparing this to like even the Falcon guy. Immediately, my mind went to, oh, there's Sam Wilson from the MCU. Oh, there's Doctor Strange. Oh, there's Ant-Man, and he's goofy like Ant-Man. The suit is like Ant-Man's even. It's red and it's
Right.
this
Yeah.
color. You have a guy that made him the suit. The Fonz made him the suit. I was like, oh, what's he doing here?
Yes. That's a good
Uh,
point.
but yeah, that was my only thing. As far as well, then you get the end credit scene, which we all kind of knew was happening when you saw it. The Rock had teased it. He was like, Black Adam's the strongest person on this planet. The guy that's stronger outside this planet has been sidelined too long, and that's all he left it as. So we were like, oh, we are going to see Superman. The only question mark was it going to be the same actor or is it going to be a different one? We get the end credit scene. He walks in. I wasn't too shocked. Even the people around me weren't even shocked. There was no like cheering, like Marvel when they do something, everybody's like clapping. They were just like, oh, and that was it. They were just like, oh.
Yeah.
Um, so I wasn't too shocked by getting Superman. But leading into that, what do we think about how this movie is supposed to like reboot the DC from the Rock's terminology of this is starting phase one, quote unquote.
I don't know that this is starting phase one of anything. I think I, DC's kind of been a mess, as we know. There's been no consistency. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a phase one of anything. I think that they're just going to keep building off of this, and if it does well, then they'll keep doing more of them. Bringing back Henry Cavill was probably inevitable at some point, assuming he wanted to come back. I don't think Walter Zamata, who was the chairman of DC Studios, he left now. He's not involved anymore. He was the one that didn't want him. I guess The Rock essentially went behind his back to get Cavill to come in. And that all was done. I don't know if you followed up on it. That was done like really recently. Like that was shot in mid-September.
Oh wow, no, I didn't know that.
The post-credit thing. Like that's how recent it was. Like there was, people were expecting him to come out at Comic-Con that they were going to introduce Henry Cavill. But I would venture to guess that timing, he may not have been signed on for it yet. Because they just recently really shot that. I don't think it's rebooting anything. I think that they will continue to build off of it. If he's, full bore into the DCEU, then that's what's going to happen. I mean, I think that they've honestly, the three most recent DC movies that have come out, well, the two most recent ones before this have been two really good movies. Now they're not connected. Suicide Squad and the Batman are in no way connected and won't be connected. But those were two really good movies that they've given us. This one isn't on that level, but it is The Rock, and they're gonna keep trying. I don't think it's resetting anything. I don't think we're gonna try to claim that it's in a different universe or anything like that. Man of Steel, the sequel to Man of Steel, will be a sequel. I don't think they're gonna try and say it's a reboot. But they're gonna try to, I don't know if they can do anything different. They're gonna have hits, they're gonna have misses, just like Marvel's having right now. So I don't think we're rebooting anything necessarily.
No, because I when he was saying all of that, then after I saw the movie, I thought about it a little bit. There were some Marvel movies made before Kevin Feige and all of them decided to make the MCU, like Marvel Studios, but
Right.
there wasn't a whole ton of like there was no other Iron Man movie. There was really no other like Thor. We never seen a Doctor
They
Strange
made they
scene.
made those movies because they didn't have the rights to the other ones.
Yeah.
I mean, Sony had Spider-Man and
Hmm.
Fox had the X-Men, and those were the two. I mean, prior to 2008, those were the two biggest properties of Marvel. Nobody knew who Iron Man was. Hulk, yes,
Hmm.
but he was a Universal property. He still is a
Yeah.
Universal
Yeah.
property, technically.
Yeah.
I mean, Thor, kind of, but I think people just kind of knew him just because of the mythology.
Right.
But those weren't popular characters. Iron Man wasn't a popular character. Captain America was not really a popular character. Um, they did that out of necessity because they wanted to start making superhero movies and try something different with somebody else, and other studios had the rights to those other movies. So, um, I mean, they're just gonna keep doing these. There's gonna be a Man of Steel 2, and there'll be a Black Adam 2, and there will be some. The two of them will show up in a movie together at some point. Whether it's one of those two movies, we'll see. They'll reboot. I shouldn't say reboot. They already have rebooted Batman. Uh,
Multiple times.
it's gonna be a constant. It's just gonna be a constant thing.
Well,
Um,
my only thought was at least when Feige did that, you're right, they did not have these characters. Now, if The Rock, quote unquote, claims like is that James Gunn may go in there and try to do a Kevin Feige type thing. I have no idea. He's got diving
well,
into that.
yeah, he's saying he's supposedly doing something else with DC. So
Yeah, but I think it's hard for him to say it's phase one. We're gonna like change the DC world when
yeah, they're not.
you have way more projects done than what Kevin Feige walked into when he
Right.
was
No,
that.
they're not rebooting anything. I mean, we already know we're getting a Shazam sequel and an Aquaman sequel next year. Um, we're getting a Superman sequel. They're not. No, it's not a reboot. It's not a
Yeah.
phase one. I mean, they can say they're starting over, and in their minds, maybe they are to an extent, but I wouldn't call it a reboot by any means.
No, to me, it's just probably like you can call it a new phase, but you're going to have to pull from all of the other stuff they've already done.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing, Henry Cavill as Superman. They're going to pull from that. They're going to pull from Aquaman. So they could call it all they want, and maybe that's what he meant. Maybe it's like, hey, we're going to just. They're not going to say they're taking the Marvel route, but they're going to take the Marvel route, I think, and try to intertwine all of these. And that's what they're going to maybe try to do. Maybe that's what he meant. It's just, I think it's going to be really hard to do that when you have all of this other. Because I was looking at it today. I told you this is the swift kick I needed to like refresh the DC thing. And I'm looking at all this stuff and I go, the first thing I did was I Googled, I was like, well, in what order should I watch these? And it's a mess. It's a
There's
complete
no.
mess.
It's not consistent. It's
No,
not like the MCU. It's just not. And we've said it countless times. We have to stop comparing the two of them because they're not the same thing. They haven't been handled the same way. They don't even come close to really overall quality comparing each other. I mean, yeah, there is technically an order to them, but it's not. You're not going to find the same consistency. Um, and cohesiveness necessarily between all of them like you would the MCU. But there is an order. I mean, I think so. The DCEU is Man of Steel was first, and then Dawn of Justice, the original Dawn of Justice, the original Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League. Well, then there was also Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is its own thing.
hmm
Aquaman, Shazam, Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman, and the Suicide Squad. So yes, they're technically even on Wikipedia they're calling it Phase One. Black Adam. God, that's so stupid. It's not Phase One of anything. I don't understand. That's just dumb. But they can do whatever they want with it. If they want to call it a
right.
Phase One, they can, and they will. But I don't think
Yeah.
that's what it is.
But yeah, when I was looking at it on HBO, I had seen Man of Steel. I just wanted to refresh my memory on like everything. Rewatched it. They said the only one that makes sense to do was watch Man of Steel and then Batman versus Superman right after. They said that's the one that makes sense to watch back to
Yeah.
back. And then I saw the rest where it's like there's really no wrong way to watch these movies because there's
No.
no huge intertwine with them. Hopefully it does. I don't think reboots, like you said, the reboot's not the right answer. I don't think phase one's the right answer. I think it could just be DC and you just start making these movies where they start to intertwine a little bit. They start to pull those characters back in and redo things. Maybe James Gunn and Dwayne Johnson kind of overtake it, like a Kevin Feige, and try to build this up. I have no idea, but it's never going to be Marvel. It's never going to get to that point because it's a mess. You have the Batman trilogies that were really good. They seem to have no longer intertwined with this. You had Ben Affleck come and play Batman. Now you have this movie, The Batman. You have all this other stuff going on where it doesn't make sense. You could easily take the Marvel route and say, oh, it's a multiverse. But I don't think they're going to go that route. It would make that's the easy way out.
Yeah.
It's just a mess of everything they have, all these movies trying to bring them intertwined. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know.
It's not nearly as cohesive as a story as Marvel has done. It's just not. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be. It's just it isn't. So you're not going to get the same thing out of it.
No, and I don't know if unfair is the right word. I think we're all just so used to Marvel superhero movies, and this is how it's supposed to look. Then when you look at a DC movie, they don't do the same thing. So I know for me, I'm like, well, for example, what do we all do? Like you said this, and I realize I do the same thing because we're gonna get to Marvel in a second. When we're watching anything Marvel, what do we think? Well, how is this opening up something new? How is this progressing towards what we already know? How is it going to get us here? DC movie, if you're watching it, you're kind of thinking the same thing of like, well, where is this going? How is this getting set up? How is this moving the story? And that doesn't. It doesn't move the story. So hopefully the next couple movies or whatever they want to do after Black Adam. I'm curious about Shazam 2, how that if that was, how that's going to intertwine with him if it does. Because I think that's the next one coming out. I think if that somehow intertwines with Black Adam, then they're on the right path. I think maybe that starts setting that, but I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I know that that's what Dwayne Johnson is saying, that he's calling it the phase one, and I'm sure in his mind he thinks it is, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Right.
That's just kind of my response. I'll believe it when I see it.
Right. I'm going to type in phase one Black Adam just because. Yep. It does say that, doesn't it? It's phase one of Black Adam. Okay. Well, we'll believe it. But anyway, good movie. I enjoyed it. If somebody was going to play Black Adam, he's the guy to do it. And
absolutely
no CGI on his suit either. That was just Dwayne Johnson. There was no CGI. He said that too. Did you see that article? He goes, yeah, we tried it. I didn't like it. So we just made a suit. I lifted harder and here we go. That was it.
All him.
All him. But I guess enough about the DC world for right now because there's nothing else besides I'm going to start catching back up, I guess, on it. I have a lot to do, Logan. I have to watch all these DC stuff and I'm re-watching and trying to we talked about before. I'm still on the Defenders things. I'm still trying to get myself caught up on all those. I still have Daredevil season 3. I still have all this stuff. So I have a lot ahead of me.
You're a busy man.
Yeah, I am. But off of the DC thing, off to Marvel, the real saviors of cinematic movie theaters.
I don't know about that. It's kind of a mess right now too.
There's two ways we can go with this. We can go She-Hulk route, Logan, or we can go straight to what we've been seeing with these future projects.
Let's talk about She-Hulk first, real quickly. Before
it was awful. Okay, we're done. It was terrible. On.
Okay, that's a take.
No.
That's a take.
No.
I mean, I don't think it was terrible. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. It was kind of the same formulaic BS that the other ones have been. Just kind of with the comedy. I enjoyed the meta stuff. I enjoyed the breaking the fourth wall. I enjoyed the stuff, busting out of into the Disney Plus thing during the finale, and the thing with Kevin. Like, I enjoyed all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it made it great. It certainly, and the rest of the MCU TV shows have just kind of been lackluster. But I enjoyed it enough. I thought she was fine. But it certainly didn't blow me away. A lot of unanswered things. It was just kind of messy. A lot of it's just kind of messy.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible. That was just me trying to be funny, and I swung and missed.
It wasn't good.
No, like,
it wasn't like it. I'm certainly not going to sit here and tell you that it was good television. But to be quite honest, I don't know that the MCU has had good television in the 2 years they've been doing this. I mean, I loved WandaVision, and I think WandaVision is the closest thing they've had to good television. But it didn't stick the landing. I thought Loki was fairly strong as a TV show. I thought there have been parts of everything that has been good. I think the Doctor Strange episode of What If is the best episode of television they've done yet. But that show as a whole didn't really do it for me. Miss Marvel was okay. She-Hulk was okay. Captain America, Falcon Winter Soldier was okay. Hawkeye, I enjoyed Hawkeye, but I don't think it was very good. It's just another thing. I think there is an ongoing issue here that we can talk about. But just in terms of that show, I enjoyed it. I laughed. It did what it was supposed to do. It got me to watch Disney Plus once a week for 6 weeks or whatever, however long it was. But it just wasn't very good.
Yeah, I thought it started strong. I thought
they usually all do.
You're right. It was the same format. It started strong. I enjoyed it at the beginning, and I tweeted this. I hated the story. I loved the actors and actresses. I thought she knocked it out of the park. I thought that what she was meant to do, be this goofy person as a lawyer and figure her way out to be in this Hulk. Perfect. She did it right. It was those like filler type episodes where we had about 3 or 4 of them in a row where that's
the problem.
So I was like, 9 episodes just felt too long. Like it was kind of. Yeah, that's where I lost it, where I was like, okay, the story. And then when you're having those boring so like, for example, we all knew Daredevil was coming because they showed it in the preview. When you see the helmet, what do we all think? Well, he's coming next episode. Then you give out 2 or 3 fillers, and that's where the story goes. And what does it become? It becomes even me going, where is Matt Murdock? Like, that's all it became about. And then you get him. You kind of, I tweeted this. He came in that episode. That episode was good. I said, okay, you have one more episode to even save yourself. And then I started seeing, did you see where they said this series finale or season finale is like as good as WandaVision? And I watched this and I'm like, no, like WandaVision is way better. I don't think
the WandaVision finale was all that great.
No, I just think whole WandaVision was better overall.
Yeah, overall for sure.
I do appreciate the what they did at the end. They took a big swing and said, let's try this. I was really hoping Kevin Feige would talk, but I also knew as I'm watching, like, he's not going to pop up. Yeah, it was different. It was new. I liked it. Then it ended right after that, right after the whole thing. The very, very end of it was, But yeah, overall, it was an okay series. And it leads into, they're just pumping out too much content in a short period of time in these TV shows. There's a good idea when COVID was going around. It sounded good. Now that's just become, it feels like they almost rushed this. Like, it's just kind of like, we're just going to put this out there and see what happens.
So here's the problem, Steve. I'm going to drop some knowledge on you.
Lay it on me. I'm going to sit back.
In November of 2019, Disney launched Disney Plus. their answer to Netflix. Netflix and Hulu, but primarily Netflix, was dominating the streaming landscape. Netflix was getting all these rights to all these movies and TV shows from other companies, and they were streaming them. And then Disney and Warner Brothers and Paramount and Comcast Universal all decided, wait a second, why are we licensing our movies and TV shows out to this other company when we can make money off of it ourselves? So that's what they did. Disney Plus started in November of 2019. I remember it because it was the week that I moved into my house, and I was taking the day off anyway to move into my new house, and it was the day that Disney Plus launched. So I was also off all day for that. The reason I bring this up is because Disney Plus is a streaming service that is a monthly subscription. When they launched, Disney has a huge back catalog of entertainment. They have years of animated hits. They also own Star Wars, so they have the entire Star Wars catalog. They have the entire Marvel catalog. Shortly before they started Disney Plus, they bought Fox, so they had all of their catalog. They have years of TV shows from ABC and Disney Channel, so they have a lot of content. But it's the back catalog is not what keeps your subscriber count going. You have to constantly be producing new material. And that's what's hurting it right now. That is what's hurting the MCU. That is what's hurting Star Wars, is that situation. Now, it's nobody's fault, and it's not getting resolved anytime soon. It's an interesting comparison to compare all of these different streaming services together, because they all have their own token big franchise TV series. Disney has the Marvel and the Star Wars shows.
Mm-hmm.
Warner HBO has the Game of Thrones show, now the new spinoff. Netflix has Stranger Things. Netflix would kill to have the MCU or Star Wars or Game of Thrones in their library. But Disney right now could really use a Stranger Things. Disney could use an original property that's not Marvel or Star Wars, that they can crank out a new show every year. Because what you're seeing is Disney is forcing Marvel and forcing Lucasfilms to produce a new TV show to come out every 3 to 4 months. And all of those TV shows have to be 9 episodes long, because you know what happens? Can you do the math on 9 episodes if it comes out on a weekly basis? How many months is that going to? It's 3 months.
3 months.
It's 3 months. It's not 8 episodes, because 8 episodes is only 2 months. They have to get people to keep coming back to that service every single month, because if they go a month that they don't have somebody coming to watch it, somebody's going to unsubscribe, and then they're losing money. That's what this is. That is the reason why the MCU is depleted. Phase 4 of the MCU has started in January of 2021 and will technically come to a close in November or December of 2022, depending on if you count Guardians Christmas special as a part of this phase. So 2 whole years. Mm-hmm. In those 2 full years, if you count What If and you count the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, that's 17 properties. 17 in 2 years. We went the first 3 phases of this thing. They would do like 3 or 4 movies a year. We've had 17 in 2 years. That's the problem. Everybody's like, Kevin Feige spread too thin. Marvel's doing too much. They're bogging. Yeah, it's absolutely correct. And it's because Disney does not have another property. They've not had success doing anything original on their streaming service or in their studio in general to get people to come back. So until Disney is able to to strike gold with like a Stranger Things, like an original property that's not tied to the MCU or Star Wars, until they're able to do that, this is what we're going to get. We're going to get shows that are 9 episodes long, because that's 3 months worth of subscriptions. And we're going to keep getting them 3 or 4 of them a year, combined with 3 or 4 movies a year. And until they solve that problem, that's what we're going to get. And it's going to continue to bog down the product.
That was dropping some knowledge.
There you go. That's why.
I even wrote it down because I'm trying to keep track. I was like, Logan knowledge. I thought the same. I was thinking the same thing watching She-Hulk. I was like, I thought about it because there was 22 movies they had to watch from phase 1 to phase 3 into phase 4.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're telling me that if somebody, like, I think you said this before, someone new that's like, I want to watch this MCU stuff. Okay, sit down. You have to watch these 20 some movies between phase 1 and 3. And then phase 4 alone, you've got to watch 17 different things.
Yep.
Now, 2 of them may not really tie into anything, but you might as well just watch them. So 17 things. That is overwhelming to be like, I have to watch all of this to understand what is going on.
Yep.
And then you're starting to see, I don't know if this directly correlates with what's been going on. You saw the Blade director leave. That has no correlation. So that's just difference of opinion, difference of creativity. But now you're seeing we get this whole thing about all these phases and when the stuff's going to come out. And everything is now pushed back.
It's because they're all connected.
They're all connected.
Everything that happens in one movie is going to affect things that happen in the movies that follow it. I mean, that again is the nature of what they've created. I am certainly not against anything they've done. I've been a fan of most everything the MCU has given us, but that's just the business of what they're doing. When you have an interconnected thing like that, this isn't the DCEU where it doesn't really matter if Flash doesn't come out next year. It's not going to really affect anything. Like when they have an issue like this where you have a Blade situation, then yeah, it's going to push every single thing back. Mm-hmm. So that's what you run into. It's too much because they're trying to fill that streaming service, and because they're all interconnected, everything affects the things behind it.
And Disney's got to be careful because this is going to push Kevin Feige out because the thing of he's stretched too thin. Yes, he is. He's got to worry about these TV shows. Now he's got a Blade director leaving. So that affects that movie. So that movie probably has to come out before a certain one. So everything's got to get pushed back. And he's going to eventually get burnt out because he's the top guy. Now he gives it to other. He's going to get burnt out. And then Disney, they're going to lose him. And my opinion is when he's gone, is it going to be the same? Whoever takes over, is it going to continue the same trend it's been going? And
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked at all if he's done after phase 6. I think I said that on our last show. Mm-hmm. Phase 6 currently is supposed to end with Secret Wars in May of 2026. I would not be shocked at all if that is when Kevin Feige decides it's time to move on. Maybe he goes and tries to do something with Star Wars, or maybe he does. I don't know, but like it just wouldn't shock me because of what they've done with him, and he is absolutely spread too thin. And it's not all his fault. It's not really anybody's fault, but that's just kind of the nature where we're at. And he's just got a lot on his plate, and everybody is up in arms when you get a She-Hulk or a Miss Marvel or a Falcon and Winter Soldier that people are just thinking is so. I mean, everything in this phase 4 has been so. I mean, I can count. Everything certainly has its own fans. I think WandaVision was strong. I think Shang-Chi was strong. I think Spider-Man No Way Home was strong. I think Werewolf by Night was good in its own right. And we still haven't seen Wakanda Forever. I think I'm still optimistic that Wakanda Forever will be the strongest thing this phase has done, which it's very possible it is. It also is possible that it's just like Doctor Strange and Thor, and it just misses the mark. And if it is, that's okay. Like, we can't just sit here and expect every single thing to be
Well,
the next best thing.
that's what I was about to say. Was I think now we're so used to like we had Infinity War, then we had Endgame, which blew it out of the water,
Yeah.
and then you have the Spider-Man Far From Home, which to me should have been part of Phase 4, but it was part of Phase 3, whatever. But then you start off with you have WandaVision, pretty good. Then you have No Way Home, blew everything out of the water. So then after that moment, we expect every single thing to start blowing it out of the
Yeah.
water. Where
Yeah, we talked about that. I mean, that's the expectations for Multiverse of Madness. But that, yeah, a lot of people, and myself included, had extremely high expectations for that movie. Just not necessarily in terms of quality, but in terms of what it was going to do, and it didn't, and it didn't do anything. And I can't say that we're to blame on for that, because I think Marvel is partially to blame for that. I think I mean, they teased a lot of this stuff, and when you name it Multiverse of Madness, now, I
yeah,
mean, there's the whole MOM thing, which what made sense now that you think about it, that it was titled Mom, because it was about Wanda being a mom. But
mm,
it was Multiverse of Madness. I mean, it's just the title alone. I don't know. That movie came out, feels like a year ago now, so we don't need to dwell on it. But yeah, I mean, that's where we're at. We're almost done through Phase 4. I think for the most part, Phase 4 has been a dud. It can potentially be saved with Wakanda Forever. But we'll see. And then, I mean, we already know what Phase 5 is. Um, and then we're starting to fill in Phase 6 a little bit. We did finally get the Deadpool 3 trailer or announcement, which was fantastic, blew up the internet. One of my favorite things I've seen so far in the last few weeks. But then, of course, the Blade announcement, which kind of put a damper on things. My question, if we're talking about Phase 5, and I brought this up on Twitter, and I've still really yet to figure this out. So they moved Blade from, I don't remember when it was supposed to be, something like September of 23 or October of 2023, something like that. November or something. I don't know. It was supposed to be towards the end of next year when Blade was supposed to come out. They pushed it back to September of 2024. And then they moved Deadpool back. They moved Fantastic Four back. They moved Secret Wars back. There's now still a hole in the fourth quarter of 2023. So we have the Marvels that come out in July of next year. And there's not a Marvel movie on the schedule between that movie in July of 2023 and Captain America New World Order, which comes out in May of 2024. So there's like 8-9 months there without a Marvel movie. Now there will be TV shows, inevitably. That's Ironheart, Agatha, Daredevil, something like that. Those will come out between those. But there's no movie there. And to go even deeper on this, Disney doesn't have a big release coming out towards the back half of next year, which is rare. They do have one animated movie that's scheduled to come out towards the end of next year, but there's no Star Wars movie schedule on the schedule. There's no Avatar movie on the schedule. There's no big Fox blockbuster on the schedule. There's no Marvel movie on the schedule now. I just think that's interesting. I don't know if that's going to get resolved, if they're going to move something around there. They could just be conceding fourth quarter, but that just seems odd to not have anything on their schedule as a studio, to not have like a big, huge blockbuster, unless they're going to put all their money into that animated movie, which is fine. It could, but I just think that's odd.
yeah, unless they start moving things more around. I'm curious to see that. I'm very curious
I
to
just don't know
see.
what it would be.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't know.
think. I mean, it would have to be Captain America moving up, and I don't think anything can be moved up at this point. I mean, we're talking a year from now, literally a year from right now, is when this movie would be ready to come out. And Quantumania, the things that are coming up before then are already pretty much done. Quantumania coming up first, Guardians, and the Marvels. All three of those things are pretty much done, I believe, in terms of shooting and edit. They're in the post-production stage of all three of those. I don't think they've even started shooting Captain America.
Mm-mm.
So that would be the next thing, or the Thunderbolts. Those are the next two projects. So nothing's moving up from the Marvel standpoint, unless something turns into a movie that was a TV show, maybe. But I don't see that happening. But
Because what? Captain America is May 3rd of 2024?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know because they
So
couldn't
yeah,
move.
there's that. I mean, they could move things back, I guess. That's probably the most likely scenario. They could move the Marvels back and make that a fall release.
But that's still giving you
But
springtime.
then you're gonna have a big gap between Guardians and Marvel,
Yeah.
the Marvels. So I don't know. I just think it's interesting that there's nothing on the schedule there for right now because of the Blade thing.
They could probably put What If season 2 at that point because that could probably go anywhere.
Well, there's going to be several TV shows. I mentioned that. I mean, Ironheart, Agatha, Daredevil are all on
Oh,
the
yeah,
schedule.
big time things. Yeah, I don't know because that's when primetime movies come out. Is that time
Right,
period?
exactly. And there's Avatar. There's no Avatar supposed to come out next year. There's no Star Wars movie on the schedule. There's no big Fox blockbuster. It's just the one Disney animated movie that's supposed to come out later next year. That's it.
When's Indiana Jones supposed to come out?
I think the next year. I think.
Oh, because that's the only other thing I could think of is
No, that's a good point. I can tell you. I have this schedule saved.
that's the only other movie I could see. And Harrison Ford is joining the MCU. That's fun.
Yes. Let's see. Indiana Jones. I don't see it.
It just says 23.
Well, it's not on the calendar then. So that could be it. That makes sense then if that's what they're planning to do. That could fit in that spot then.
Yeah, that's the only thing I
Because
could
on
see.
on the release schedule that they posted when they were doing all this stuff, all the moving around. Oh no, it is. It's on there. It
June
is on
30th.
there. June 30th.
Okay, that doesn't help.
So yeah, so on this schedule, Disney does have Haunted Mansion, the Haunted Mansion reboot movie coming out in August. So that's that. And then they have a Fox movie coming out in November or September and another one in October, but I don't think either of those are going to be big money makers. And then the animated movie Wish that comes out around Thanksgiving. So that's it. That's the only thing that's on their schedule then.
I was so excited. Like, I just solved it. It's Indiana Jones. Nope, they ruined it.
Nope.
Ruined that.
That's on there. That's in June. So that could be moved around. Something could move to the back, which, as I said, I think it's more likely. I think it's more likely that Indiana Jones or the Marvels moves back to the fall.
What a mess. Marvel's got into the product of the movies are okay. It's just a mess. We're going to get big time things. They still don't have the Fantastic Four figured out. Then everything's getting pushed back. You have directors leaving. They left Stranger Things, Doctor Strange. Now they're leaving Blade. They got to figure out the Fantastic Four.
I'm shocked we still don't have a Fantastic Forecast. Like, I am shocked. I mean, granted, they have pushed the movie back now, so I guess they have a little bit more time. We're not going to get that till February of 25 now. But I'm still shocked that it is October of 2022 and we still don't know who's in this movie. We don't know anything.
I'm tired of seeing reports for casting. It's John Krasinski. It's the guy from Lucifer. Now it's the guy in Star Wars. The yesterday, and I'm
Driver. I don't buy any of it. I think I don't know. I think we're just getting all sorts of random things. I really like the Jason Segel rumor that I heard a few months ago.
Which
him playing Ben Grimm.
I was hoping he'd show up in She-Hulk, but it didn't.
That was the rumor was that he was supposed to be in She-Hulk and that he was potentially playing Ben Grimm, but neither of those things proved to be true. So
no, the guy from Lucifer, even though that Lucifer is quote unquote in the DC world, actually, believe it or not, it's based off of certain things. He would be a perfect Mephisto character. Now, I don't think he would do it because he already played the devil, but like watching Lucifer, it's a good show. He would have been perfect for that role.
What do you think about the actual rumor about who has played Mephisto?
That's an interesting cast member to play him.
Sacha Baron Cohen. I mean, he's a good actor. I know everybody really knows him as Borat. But he's a really good actor. He's really talented. I don't know. I have a hard time seeing him playing that kind of role, but I don't know. I mean, if it's real, who knows? It's probably not even real, but that seems to be the rumor of the week that seems to have some sort of validity.
he's Borat, and then he's in um with Will Ferrell.
Ricky Talladega Nights.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
like after seeing
And I
the,
think that's what most people know him from, is those two things.
yeah,
But he was in Les Miserables, which is a pretty good movie, and he does a
yeah,
really good job in that. And he's in he got an Oscar nomination for Trial Chicago 7, which came out in 2020 during the pandemic. It was one of the better movies that year, and he was really good in that movie in a dramatic role. So he can do it. I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he could do it, that type of role. But again, it's just kind of interesting. We'll see if it actually comes to fruition.
yeah. That wasn't. I saw that and I said that's an interesting cast if that decides to do it. Then I saw for the casting of Reed Richards and Tom Ellis, I think's his name from Lucifer.
Yeah.
I saw him and I said, you know what? That I want everybody wants John Krasinski, but I saw that and I thought that's still a good guy for that. But then I thought about it, he already played the devil. He would be perfect just to flip it and go into playing Mephisto, which again, it got brought up in She-Hulk because of the deal made with the devil and all this stuff. So he was teased in She-Hulk. He's coming. I just don't know when or where. Don't care anymore. But the more it gets talked about, I'm like, he would be the perfect casting, or David Harbour, but he's already in the MCU as somebody else.
Correct. But he's coming back.
He's coming back in Thunderbolts. He'll be back. Yeah. I'm excited for that.
Same.
He is going to be Santa Claus too.
I'm excited for that movie.
I am too.
That's going to be a fun time. I'm not sure it's going to go up in the Christmas movie pantheon, but it looks like a fun time. Pretty excited for that.
I saw the trailer. I was like, this isn't real, right? And I was watching. I was like, I'm going to go see this movie. It's gonna
very real.
But yeah, real quick, this is not movie. The commercial from Deadpool with Ryan Reynolds. Did you see? There's a podcast network up here called CHGO that talks about all the Chicago sports, and I would assume who's now joining them. Did you see they recreated that Deadpool?
No, with him? I didn't.
They're sitting there talking, and then you see I would assume just walking behind them. Then he's going to go to the stairs, and they're like, "Io, do you just want to join us or something?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure, whatever," and just keeps talking.
I need to watch that. I did not see that. I thought it was funny. I'm very excited to watch this now that you say that, because I did not see that. I know who that podcast is, but I noticed, I saw people talking about it, that house. Did you see the thing about the house that they shot that in? Was supposedly the same house that they shot the Taylor Swift All Too Well 10-minute long song video in.
I didn't know that.
Yes, apparently, if you watch, because I went back, I've seen the video a couple times, but I went back and I watched it, and it's definitely possible that it's the same house. I just thought that's very funny. If that's just a Ryan Reynolds thing that he would do that. Yes. Yeah, I mean, the whole Hugh Jackman thing, that was fantastic. That was such a. They just dropped. That was the thing. So we had D23, and we had literally nothing come out of D23. We got no new information from D23 from what we already knew. At Comic-Con, they gave us, they made the big announcement that when they gave us a date for Fantastic Four and told us we're getting the two MCU, or told us we're getting the two Avenger movies, thinking that when we get to D23, they would fill in some of those gaps, and we literally got nothing. So then for finally a few weeks later to get the Ryan Reynolds social media drop with the Hugh Jackman announcement, like that was better than anything that Disney could have given us on D23. So
yes,
that was great. Very excited for that. It's unfortunate it's already been delayed, but like that's not surprising. And speaking of the delays, like I would have bet $1,000 that we would not have gotten those two Avengers movies in the same year, like they announced. That's what they told us at Comic-Con, that they were both coming out in 2025 or whatever. I would have bet $1,000 like that is not happening. Like there is no way in hell. And of course, it's already been pushed back. So
yeah, it was too good to be true. I was hoping I was like that, just stay that way. Then when I saw the Blade was delayed, I was like, okay, now all this is going to get delayed.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
Go ahead.
I was just more upset about Deadpool after that announcement than seeing it get delayed. I was so upset. I was like,
but at least we're getting it.
Yes, I just feel like Deadpool hopefully will break the MCU. I hope something happens where it just breaks the MCU. We already have Hugh Jackman, but again, it's just very curious. We don't know what kind of role is it. The
Yeah.
same Wolverine. They're gonna. I don't know. I just Deadpool when you watch him is so connected to everything and the whole. I don't know. I just hope it breaks the internet, but breaks the MCU. I don't know, but it was just. I was like, damn, it gets delayed, but
It's pretty great.
and then the second video to follow where they're like, let me tell you what's happened in this movie, and then they just start going like, we're just going to tell you all the secrets,
And then
then
they played music over it. Yeah.
yeah, it's just total Ryan Reynolds BS that he pulls, but he's great.
He's great. I love Ryan Reynolds. Do you have any predictions as to what's gonna fill up this phase 6 slot? These phase 6 slots that we still haven't heard from? I mean, Deadpool's the only new thing that we found out that we're getting in that. I guess Blade maybe technically.
Yeah, but we kind of knew that. Like,
I would think there's still maybe one more movie in there.
I just have a feeling it's either gonna they keep
I think it's
talking.
gonna be Hulk, right? I think that's the
Yeah,
most likely. I don't think we're getting X-Men. I think there is some validity to that report that came out a few months ago about the contracts. There being some sort of contract issues with the X-Men characters are still tied to the original actors until a certain date, and people kind of was floating around the internet, and a lot of people kind of brushed it off like, okay, this doesn't seem real. But I think there's some validity to that. I do not think we're definitely not getting an X-Men movie.
I think that's why Hugh Jackman's back. That's probably why he has to
Yeah,
be Wolverine.
I think he shows up in Deadpool 3, and I think he shows up in Secret Wars. And then I think Phase 7 they would start over with X-Men would be my guess. I think so. We know Blade, Deadpool 3, Fantastic Four, and then the 2 Avengers movies are coming. I think we'll still get them. I think we're getting a Hulk movie is my guess, especially after She-Hulk. I don't know how they're working that out with Universal, because Universal still has the film rights to the Hulk. So maybe they're working something out with them. I don't know. But then after that, it's just TV shows. So
there's only the only other 2 rumors I keep hearing about is Wanda getting her own movie. I just don't know how that fits in with Agatha's thing coming.
That's not coming in Phase 6, I wouldn't think.
And then they keep talking about another Spider-Man movie, and I'm just like,
well, that will happen, but that's going to be Sony, and that's going to be its own thing.
Okay, I didn't know if that would fit into.
I think we're getting a Hulk movie, but there's also Armor Wars, which they've said now is a movie, so that could be. And I don't know how they're going to do it. They're going to move all these things around, so I should stop looking at it like it's black and white. But
and then the rumors with Armor Wars, Tony Stark's coming back. That's all I've seen for 2 days, and I'm like, stop it. Like, if he comes back at all, it's going to be in another universe when they get to Avengers stuff.
I think he'll be in Secret Wars.
Yes. Is it going to be different? Is it going to be Robert Downey Jr. or is it going to be somebody else?
Secret Wars at its core is going to involve a lot of characters. And from different universes. So I would venture to guess that you might see both him and Steve Rogers in that. Probably different universe versions of themselves. But I think they'll probably pop up for that. And that's why I wouldn't be surprised if that's like Kevin Feige's swan song. Like, I'm going to give you all these characters at one time. This is going to be the biggest thing you've ever seen, bigger than Endgame. And I'm going to walk away.
And then good luck.
And then I'm off. Pass it on to whoever wants to take over. Oh God, I pray for that soul.
I'm going to go save the DC world, and he's going to hop over.
I think I don't know what he'll do. I would say he goes to Star Wars, but I think
he's been tied to Star Wars.
They have a lot of similar issues, especially with all the stuff I talked about earlier with the Disney Plus stuff. But
he's talked about wanting to make a Star Wars thing, so I think that's where he goes.
Yeah,
to that world. I don't know. I don't know if we'll get another sequel to somebody. I think they have to create something new.
Well, I mean, we will get sequels eventually. Shang-Chi will get a sequel, a Wanda movie, another Doctor Strange movie. I mean, those things will happen. I just don't think they're happening in that Phase 6 because they've already started. I mean, we already have most of those movie slots filled up. I think there could be one more movie in there, but I think Hulk or Armor Wars is probably more likely, and then the rest would be TV shows. So, but I would like for them to do more of these one-off special presentations like they did with Werewolf by Night. I know you said you hadn't watched it yet. It's good. It's just different, and I think that that's the route they need to go. But as I said, I don't think that's happening. I think that they need to follow the streaming model, and until Disney has some sort of other original property that they can, get that can hold up the streaming service for a few months, they're going to keep forcing Marvel and Star Wars to keep cranking out shows every 3 months. And that sucks because it's just too much. Some of it's been good. I haven't been watching Andor. I've heard it's really good. I will watch it at some point. I might watch more of it tonight, but yeah, it's just some of it's okay, but for the most part, it's just too much, and it's oversaturating all of it. So
Yeah, I haven't watched it. I haven't the Star Wars stuff. I'm okay missing and like going back to it.
yeah,
I did the same thing with Miss Marvel. I was okay missing it and going back to it. She-Hulk, I just happened to be able to watch it Wednesday mornings or Wednesday nights or Thursdays, more likely. But again, it wasn't one where I had to be like, I have to watch it.
Yeah.
And the only one I'm looking forward to for TV shows, I'm really looking forward to the Daredevil one. I think it's going to be very, very good. And you talk about that one, 18 episodes. That's a lot.
That's more what they should be doing. That's an actual TV show. These other TV shows they've been doing, they're only TV shows in the sense that they need to be to stretch it out for a few weeks. Like, these are not like Falcon and Winter Soldier did not need to be a 9-episode thing. Some of these were 6, some of these were 9. But they don't need to be that. I would much rather them be, 2 movie length type things. I don't know, just find a different way to do it. But like stretching the stuff out over 6 or 9 episodes it's not the answer. And I know why they're doing it. I've already talked about why they're doing it, but it sucks. Mm-hmm. I think it's hurting the product. Yep. I wish they would do more stuff like Werewolf by Night. Give me something that's 50 minutes long, an hour long, more stuff like that. Just as opposed to stretching everything out. A real TV show like Daredevil, yes, that makes all the sense in the world. But just stretching these things that should be a movie over the course of 6 hours or 9 hours is just not feasible. And it's just hurting it.
Yep.
Hurting the product.
Yep.
I mean, I'm excited for Daredevil. I'm excited for Secret Invasion.
In terms
of TV shows, we'll see if Wakanda Forever gets me excited for Ironheart.
Yep.
If we really like her character, then yeah, I might be more excited for that show. But we'll just have to see.
Yep. See more of the trailers for Wakanda Forever.
Yep.
More excited just because we kind of really don't really know where it's going to go with losing him, and so that's the exciting part is we kind of don't know. We really don't.
No. I mean, I'm in the camp, and I think a lot of people are at this point that I think multiple people will wear the suit over the course of the movie.
Yep.
I think that Shuri, Nakia, M'Baku will probably all wear it. Mm-hmm. And don the Black Panther, stuff at some point. Who ends up being Black Panther at the end of the movie, I don't know. I mean, I'm still not totally out on the whole Michael B. Jordan thing, though I don't think that's happening. But yeah, I think at some point all 3 of those characters will wear the suit, and then we'll just have to see what they decide to do with it at the end. But I'm very excited for Wakanda Forever. I mean, Black Panther is still to this day, I think it's one of the best 2 or 3 movies in the MCU. It's not necessarily my favorite. It's towards the top of my favorite list, but it's going to be a big movie. I'm very excited. I already have my tickets purchased, and I'm hoping and praying. I would be very happy if I walk out of that movie thinking this is better than, and I enjoy it more than both Doctor Strange and Thor. I thought both of those movies were fine. I enjoyed both of them. I think they were both mid-tier Marvel. If this is better than that, which it should be, I'll be content. I don't need to be blown away. I don't need it to change the scope of the MCU. I just they need to give me something good. They
Right.
haven't given me a good movie in a while, and so that's all I want. Give me a good
Michael
movie.
B. Michael B. Jordan does fight Kang in his new Creed 3 movie, so we do see that.
That trailer looks dope. I'm very
It
excited for that.
does.
I'm disappointed that didn't get. They were supposed to come out this year, and they had to push it back. And that's his directorial debut too. So kind of
Mhm.
excited to see how he does with that. But yeah, that I forgot Jonathan Majors was in that movie. So when
Mhm.
I saw that on that poster first, before I saw the trailer, I got really excited. So he's gonna have a heck of a year next year.
Oh,
He's
he's
going
gonna
to
be
be in that. He's going to be in Quantum Mania. He's going to be the main villain of. I imagine he's going to be in Loki, season 2 of
yes.
Loki.
Yep.
So all 3 of those things come out next year, and who knows if he shows up in something else in the MCU too, which I think is certainly possible. So Jonathan Majors is about to have it if he hasn't already become a household name around movie fans, he's definitely going to become one next year for sure.
And I don't want to keep circling back to the missing products. I just thought of this movie. Would Eternals 2 make sense to put in there as a movie, or do you think that would get pushed to Phase 7?
No, I think we get pushed. Yeah, I don't think we're there yet. I mean, we got to think. I mean, whatever this movie is, if they stick with the current schedule, which I don't think they will, I think you're talking July of 2025. So you still got some time. So it could be Eternals. I put that. I think it's probably still Hulk or Armor Wars. Would be
Mhm.
my guess. They could have more than one movie still in that phase. I would just kind of be surprised if they did,
Yeah.
because I think they're going to have more TV shows. And yeah, so I think Eternals 2 is probably the third most likely, if you ask me.
Mhm.
Shang-Chi 2 would be,
That's true.
but
Yeah.
if it's Destin Daniel Cretton is supposed to direct it, and he's also directing Kang Dynasty, so I don't think he can do both of those. So if he's not going to direct Shang-Chi 2, then yeah, that movie can fit in there too. But if he's directing that movie, that ain't happening. He's not
Right.
doing both of those in the span of 2 years or whatever. So
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought of that off the top of my head of something else I need to clear up because that movie does need
yeah,
it needs
it needs help. The
it
first
needs
one
help.
was I applaud it for taking the chances that it did, but it did not work. So
Yeah, I was
it
just
also it didn't help coming out at the same time as Dune. That also did not help that movie. Granted, that's not all that important, but they're two similar stories and too similar of slow burn type of movies, science fiction, epic, all about the
Mhm.
visuals type of movies to come out within a few weeks of each other, and one of them is significantly better than the other. That doesn't do
Mhm.
you any favors either. So,
Yeah. Nope, I just thought of that.
all
Uh,
right,
well, I
let's
think
shut
we
it down.
yeah, we covered it all.
I think we
Kevin
did.
Feige's gonna go save the DC world when he's done. That's we're gonna start that rumor. Uh,
KEVIN.
oh yeah, sorry, KVIN, the machine. Um,
Yeah.
but I think that wraps it up. Uh, don't think we're getting any other projects until Wakanda Forever. I think.
Wakanda Forever in November, Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas thing in December, which that's not going to be a big ordeal or anything. But yeah, and then that's it until next year, which I don't think they will have anything next year until Quantum Mania, which is in February. So I guess it's not that long. So yeah,
Nope,
it'll
and
be,
Loki season 2 is done filming. I think I saw, so they're
yeah, that
done
sounds right.
filming. So
Yeah,
that'll be
Black Panther comes out in less than a month. It's the 11th of November. So um, yeah,
November 11th.
November 11th.
Yeah, my birthday will be 2 days after that, so just in
Yeah,
time.
it's right around
Just,
your birthday. Yeah.
just in time. All right. Well, we covered everything. Anybody listening, go check out Logan's other podcast, No One Asked Us podcast. He and Craig put out content each and every week on all sports. Logan gets his TV shows and movies in there as well at times. Then he comes on here and vents even more about them. This is open for that. Um, go check all that out. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Logan, thanks for being here, guys. We will see you next time.
Thank you, Steve.